Wild rice is a very challenging plant to monitor from a scientist's perspective because it's so annually variable. Some of the best long-term data from a handful of lakes in northeast Minnesota has shown that annual variability, but it has also shown an overall decline in rice abundance. So the Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund provided the seed money to develop a monitoring program for the stewardship of wild rice.
Manoomin to us means wild rice. It's a medicine to us. It means the good berry. Historically, our belief that for a wild rice water body, as long as you have the correct water quality, Manoomin should be there. But last year was kind of a bad year due to all the high water. There really wasn't much for rice last year. To imagine a world where Manoomin didn't exist, I would also have to imagine myself not existing in that world.
How's it looking?
Getting there. That one's really filled out.
Wild rice is an aquatic grass that grows each year by seed in Minnesota lakes and rivers. It's listed as the state grain since the 1970s and is now actually on the state seal. Minnesota holds more wild rice waters than anywhere else, probably combined. It's also incredibly important as a water quality indicator and food source for migratory waterfowl and the wildlife within aquatic ecosystems.
One beautiful thing about Manoomin is the strength of the seed. After the seed falls from the plant, it lays in a substrate, and over the winter it's dormant. In the springtime, if it doesn't see the correct conditions, it will not germinate. It'll wait until it finds ideal conditions. Once you have that germination, it starts to strand. And once it reaches the water surface, you have floating leaf stage. That's when wild rice is its most vulnerable.
So if water levels spike, it'll uproot the plant and then it's probably, done for that season. With climate change, we're seeing heavier precipitation events, stronger winds, stronger storms, water level changes at different times of the year. So the only way we can tell if there's long-term threats to wild rice is to have good quality data from all over the state of Minnesota. Nice tall plant.
92 for depth.
Several years ago, the University of Minnesota and the 1854 Treaty Authority came together to develop a wild rice monitoring handbook. But we found that we have all these people out there collecting data on wild rice, but nobody talks to each other. So the first part of the project is to say, hey, can we all come together and share our data, get people together, develop that collaboration? And that's probably the most important and hardest part, building trust between the entities. We had people from Mille Lacs, from White Earth, from Red Lake, from Fond du Lac, Shakopee, Prairie Island, from U of M, from Nature Conservancy, the Treaty Authority, and others, all in the same room talking about what to do next. We're monitoring at least 1,000 points each year across about 20 different water bodies within the state. We'll paddle out to each of these points, and then we use a quadrat sampler where we count the number of stems per square meter, measure the plant height, water depth, substrate, record any other vegetation, what other plants are growing in that area.
30 stems?
We really want to get the data when the plants are at their peak biomass, which is August and into September. So we have a fairly short window to try to get to all these locations. A lot of the tribal entities are looking at this and saying, is there a better way to collect this same kind of data?
This is our third year utilizing drones. You can do many more lakes and stands of wild rice. Now with this technology, there's just so much information that we can gather when you're seeing things from a bird's eye view. And working with Josh in the state, we're now doing these different plant identifications. Knowing what plants are out there has greatly improved our monitoring program.
We developed a mobile application to help collect the field data. So that makes the data sharing really easy. We bring people from all these entities in for a day and train on the methodology, on the technology, and that makes the data quality really high. Using iPads, that mobile application syncs directly to a central server. I can now click on a lake, hit a button, and it generates the sampling points that we need. The real breakthrough here is using this remote sensing application, Google Earth Engine, which uses satellite imagery and other data sets to map where wild rice is on the landscape. We can train the computer to recognize sparse wild rice, dense wild rice. This is what cattails look like. And then once the computer knows what it's looking at, we can then say, now show me where all these layers are consistent across the landscape.
One thing that the monitoring collaboration has shown me is who does wild rice in different areas, different reservations. So now I have those connections to where if we're seeing something here on White Earth that just isn't quite right, I can reach out and say, hey, what are you guys seeing in your wild rice beds?
One of the really great outcomes of the project was this Wild Rice Knowledge Symposium. 300 people from 30 different entities, from tribal, state, federal, people from Michigan and Wisconsin, and Canadian folks all came together for a 2-day conference to talk about the importance of Manoomin. The Environment Natural Resources Trust Fund has been instrumental in getting the collaboration growing. We were just re-awarded another 3-year project to expand the program to better understand what's happening with wild rice at the statewide scale.
The history of the Anishinaabe people is a migration story to a place that food grows on water. It's the reason why we're here. I can honestly say I've never found anything more powerful than the act of harvesting wild rice. Not only are we gathering food to sustain us through the year, but we're healing as we're harvesting. It's what we live by. If we take care of the rice will ultimately take care of us. It's our responsibility now to take care of it for future generations.